Hi, everyone. Good day to you all. Good morning for those who it's morning for them. Good afternoon and good evening. I think it's evening for me. So good day to you all. Super, super excited to have you all here. My name is Samantha Rahama Omar. My friends call me Star Girl Sam. And I am a Global Glow alumna from Nigeria. And it is with great honor and joy and delight that I'll be moderating this wonderful event. So today we're going to be having an authentic youth adults, an authentic youth adult discussion. Okay. And this discussion is centered around youth adult partnership in advocacy for human rights. So today is going to be a fun day. I don't want us to be all serious. We have amazing experts who are here with us to speak to us. We have my amazing youths who are going to be here, and I'm going to be introducing them in a moment. So human rights is a universal right, and therefore it requires all humans of all generations to advocate and work together. So that is why we don't just have youth here. That's why we don't just have adults here. We have youths and we have adults. I have introduced myself. I'm going to introduce my amazing guests. So first we have Alison Abbott. Alison Abbott is an amazing woman. Guys, she is the Global Communications Director of the World LPG Association, and not just that, she is the co-founder of Women in LPG, a global network of over 4,000 women advancing leadership and inclusion in the energy industry. Can we welcome her? Can we welcome her, drum? I'm so excited to have you, Alison. Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. And next, we have another super, super amazing woman. We have Jessica McKez. She is a transformational theater leader, a best-selling author and national voice on equity, access, and leadership who has built award-winning programs that uplift underrepresented voices in the arts. Next, I'm going to be introducing our amazing youth here with me. We have Iniolua. Iniolua is a Glow Club alumna from Nigeria. We're both in Nigeria right now. And she's also an author. Okay, Iniolua is an author in Global Girls Blues anthology book, Voices for Impact. And we have the one and only Priyanka, a Glow Club member all the way from Zambia, and a Girl Advocacy Committee representative. Today's discussion is going to be loaded because we are surrounded by loaded women and girls. Okay, so we're going to move right into our discussion.
So to me, meaningful partnership means adults don't just lead and expect us to follow. It means like we are working together, like we have teamwork, like they listen to our ideas, they actually consider them, not just nod and move on. And when they remember what we said earlier and bring it up later, it shows they really cared. Also, meaningful partnership also feels like adult listening without interrupting. It just clearly means like we are working together.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for bringing that, for sharing that in your lure, where the adults actually listen to what we the youth have to say, and all our, we youth, we have very, very crazy and wild ideas, yeah. Interesting ones. So for Inyolua, she is saying that what makes her feel heard is when they actually listen to what we say. Thank you so much, Inyolua, for sharing that. Now over to you, Priyanka. Priyanka, can you share a moment when you felt adults really supported your advocacy, or when you wish they had done more to listen? So let's hear your story.
Actually, mine is a story from back then, though it wasn't an adult, it was a youth. Yes. She was about 18. She's a family friend, a very trusted one. I trust her. So, one experience that stands out when I was, in a tough situation at school. It was a very tough one and it was making me feel very uncomfortable. So, she listened to me without interrupting. And it was so amazing. Like that feeling, it was so good. I don't know how to express myself when I try to remember that feeling, but it was so good. I was so overwhelmed. She listened without criticism and interrupting. I felt so amazing. And together we came up with solutions to that problem. And God is great. We did it together. We solved that problem. And I did it at school. Yeah.
My goodness, that's so beautiful and heartwarming to hear. And this goes on to show that if the adults truly listen to the youth, that is the only way they will be able to truly support them in their endeavors and in all that they do. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for sharing that with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, we are now, having listened to our youth, so we're going to be moving to our experts. So Alison and Jessica, you both have worked in fields where voice and representation deeply matter. Hearing what Priyanka and Inioluwa have shared, what resonates with you about human rights challenges that they have raised, especially around power sharing and being heard?
First of all, I want to congratulate this body for putting this together. And I want to, Samantha, you've got an infectious passion that is just beautiful. And I think that, and also Inulua and Priyanka, I've been lucky enough to visit Nigeria and I know the spirit of the people there. And we're going to talk about empowering women shortly. I think with myself and Jessica, if I may, you've got two women from polar industries. I'm from the energy industry and Jessica's from the arts. So I encourage you to ask questions or listen to us because hopefully we can help and share. And I think what Priyanka said I was rapidly making notes. And by the way, hi, I'm speaking to you from Paris, France. It's evening here, so it's quite dark, but I can see the Eiffel Tower, which is quite nice. Now, you said something, listen without interrupting. How important is that? I think it's something we can all learn from. Without youth, we won't move forward. It's obvious, but it's true, and we need to listen. In my industry, we are typically very male dominated. I'm in the oil and gas industry in renewable liquids, and it's true that we're very male dominated, and we have to listen. And it's also elderly gentlemen. And so we've created a youth council amongst our members, and that's for young people under the age of 35 who form part of a council who challenge us. They have to challenge us because we can be guilty of doing the same thing as we can in life over and over again. And if somebody who's a good deal younger than us doesn't come forward and says, you're doing this, try this. It's a different way of looking at it. This is what the youth want. This is how the youth want to receive this information so they can learn. And I think it's so important that we listen. I think you really hit the nail on the head with that. In terms of human rights for women and young girls, what the work that we do in the association and also in the group that I've put together, Women in LPG, we do a lot of work in Central Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, and Latin America, in the global south, where they're still very developing, and a lot of women cook on wood, and it's killing them. They're breathing in harmful wood smoke, which kills more people a year than HIV, malaria, and TB combined, which is huge. So what we do is we put measures in place to enable women to cook, because it's usually the women who are cooking, right, with LPG, so that they can have clean burning energy in their homes. So it saves lives. Also, it helps with women and children who go out into the field to collect the firewood. They can spend hours and hours a day doing this. It's when they're at risk of being attacked, when their human rights are stripped away from them. So having clean burning energy in their homes is immediately brings an improved quality of life. So we do a lot of work in that field, and I've seen it. I was in Cameroon just a couple of months ago, where we launched a chapter of Women in LPG to help women there enable them to cook cleanly and live. It means that they have more time. They can go to school. They can go and learn. They can set up micro businesses. So it's passionate for us that we enable women to live how we in the global north expect to live every day. And I've seen it in person when, these below poverty line communities don't have access to what we consider basic human rights. And that's what you said right at the very beginning, protecting the rights of women and children. So that's a little bit of what we've been doing from the energy side, if you like. It's something that we're all very passionate about. We share your passion, Samantha, and I think that I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's kind of where I've come from, if you like. Bit different to my friend Jessica, but I think we both have probably quite a lot to say and feel very passionate about protecting these very important people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alison. When as we spoke, I just realized that in girls and women being heard, representation matters. Representation matters a lot because you have been able to notice these gaps even in your field, and you are bringing about solutions to deal with them. If you were not there as a woman, I don't think this would have been a thing, or if you have gotten to this level. Yes. So because you are there and because you're a woman, you are now
Thank you.
able to feel what the women need, and they are heard. So thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for all that you do. Yes.
Oh,
So moving to Jess, over to
thank
you,
you.
Jess.
Sure. Thank you. Samantha, you have the most beautiful smile. I'm just
Thank you.
with you. So I also want to thank all of the youth who spoke so boldly today. I think it takes a lot of courage to speak up for oneself. I think it takes a lot of courage, particularly as a young person, particularly as a young woman, to speak up for yourself, because speaking up has consequences, right? And it does for all of us. For me, voice is more than just speaking. It's about being heard and being believed and being included in the rooms where decisions are made. I'm a university professor, and that is something Samantha's talking about, how they have a youth council. We have students who are invited into the rooms where decisions are made. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One, because we do want the students' opinions, right? We have our view of what's happening in the school, what's happening in their lives, what they're learning, but we don't know what they know. And I know Glow talks a lot about girls knowing what girls need. And I think that it needs to be more than just a symbolic gesture, but really as someone who has privilege, who has some presence, it's about creating rooms where girls can be heard because we have created it to be that way. And I think that's the real responsibility of being in an older generation, is it's power sharing, right? It's inviting young people into the decision-making spaces, not just as a gesture, but really as a partner, because lived expertise, lived experience is expertise. And I say this to my students all the time. I say, I have not walked in your shoes, right? I am not in your throat. I'm not your voice. I don't know how that feels to you. And so I think it begins by creating spaces that are intergenerational, where we can bring young people in. I think the second thing is that it's listening, as you have all pointed out, but I also think it is asking the question of what do you need? How can I help? Rather than coming in and saying, I'm going to be the hero and I'm going to wear the white hat and save the day. No, I'm not, because I don't know what it is that you need, or what I think you need might not be what you know that you need. And I think that's a really important distinction, because those of us with platforms and privilege often like to talk a lot. And I like to talk a lot, right? But I think it's so important that the first question that is asked in any room, if we're talking about human rights, if we're talking about art, if we're talking about science, if we're talking about relationships or friendships, is how are you? What do you need? And how can I help? Right? And I think when there's an issue, the question is, what does resolution look like for you? And then how can I, with my knowledge and experience and network, how can I be of assistance for that? And I think we want to ask those questions, but we also want to create a space that is safe, where girls feel that they are able to ask those questions, that they're able to truthfully know that they can ask for what they want and get what they need. That's my spiel.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Jess. As you spoke, I just saw how important these kinds of discussions are, because this is just an example of the things that you said, creating spaces where young people will speak. Because if you look at it, the issues that are affecting youth, the youth need to be there because they know what is wrong with them. They are the ones in the shoes, and having someone like you, hearing you speak with that passion just gives me hope that, okay, what if we had 2,000 Jesses in the world? I think we're going to make a lot of progress. So thank you so much, Jess, for that powerful intervention. Thank you so much, Alison, for that too. So we are going to be moving. We have all spoken about how it is very important to listen to the youth, but we know that the real solution to the problems is what is being done after listening, right? So we want to hear, now that we've had both experiences and perspectives from the youths and the adults, we're going to think and talk about how we can build stronger partnerships between generations, even as we advocate for the human rights. So back to you, Alison and Jessica. Alison, you both have built networks that connect women around the world. Through Jess has a wonderful book. You co-founded Women in LPG and that. So what lessons from these efforts could apply to bridging generations in advocacy work? What does authentic allyship, because moving forward, I want, Priyanka wants, Inyolua wants, the youth who will be listening to this want to know what authentic allyship looks like in promoting our advocacy work. So what does authentic allyship from adults look like in youth advocacy spaces? So I think we'll begin, just as we did the last time, we'll begin with Alison, and then Jessica will come up next.
Thank you, Sam. I think this is fantastic dialogue. I think authentic allyship is what's important. It's a two-way dialogue. So we have to listen, but I also recommend that the youth listen to us. We have a wealth of experience and we share that. And I think that's so important, that you can learn from our lessons, learn from our mistakes, and it's up to us to share our mistakes. And what we need is, as Jessica said, to create those spaces where we can do that. Now, one of the things is that women trust women inherently. When we go into my male-dominated environment, if we're putting gas into a woman's home who is maybe of a culture where women are separate to men, then they need somebody to go in and set up these gas cylinders. If there's a woman doing that, they will instinctively have a trust there. There is a connection. So we create those safe spaces, and we've seen that in action. one of the things that we do, which creates this allyship, is that my network has 16 national chapters around the world, so we're on the road a lot. Pretty much every month we're going somewhere. And each national chapter has a different need. It has a different focus, because what's needed in Nigeria is very different to what's needed in the US or in Poland or in India or in South Africa or Ireland. I'll take Nigeria as an example because I think we've got two ladies here from Nigeria, and we do a lot of work with our women in LPG, and the allyship there is that there's an amazing lady who runs our chapter there in Lagos, and they create dialogue with schools. They create safe spaces in schools for young girls to go and talk about their challenges. And that is so important. They listen, they do it under the umbrella of our network, and they go into these spaces. They also teach them how to cook using gas. And that in itself, cooking, for everybody in the world, cooking is a joint experience. It's a family experience. For those of us who are Christian, we're coming to Christmas in the States, you just had Thanksgiving. It all revolves around food and sharing it. So what better way to create a safe space than with teaching people how to cook using a different method? So that's a form of allyship, in that it's building trust and it's listening, but it's also asking questions. And my advice to the young talent who are listening us today is, I'm sure we'll share our contact details, is ask us what mistakes we made. I know I've made a few. But in the song Regrets, I don't have a few. We shouldn't regret anything. But I think that we have that experience. I think as you go through life, you can ask, you need mentors. I personally have had a mentor, Jessica, I guess you have as well, and they are intrinsic in our development and our personal development. You have to mentor, but you also have to let the youth flow. It's like having a horse. You can train it, but then you have to let it go a little bit. So we don't want to stifle the incredible talent that's there. You may need a little bit of ushering or a bit of guidance and advice, but we must never try to stem your amazing passion that you have, because that would be wrong. So my advice is create these safe spaces where women can share. I think that's so important. We need to be able to talk in a safe space. That's certainly the case in my industry, which is very, very male heavy. But we have women. I spend time in Colombia in Latin America, and there they have a lot of women drivers, and they drive trucks that are laden with gas. And they often, these women are quite petite, and they say the challenges that they have, they can't even get uniforms that fit them because they're not thinking about women. They're not supporting the women. The shoes, the shoes, the protective shoes, they're for men with much bigger feet. So it's things like listening and helping. And I think that's where allyship, if we go back to that keyword, allyship comes in. It's listening to what people want. If we're sort of wanting to give women these great roles in this amazing energy industry, we have to make sure that they have facilities that protect them and make them feel comfortable and at ease. And that's also so critical. And that's when we listen. And we do listen to people. We've had examples of women who work on ships, and again, they can't get the uniforms because they're just too big for them. So we have to listen so that they can go onto these male-dominated cargo ships, feel safe, feel that they have the embracement, that's perhaps not the best word, but that they have the support of everyone around them, and that they're respected. And they're young. These are young women under the age of 35. So they're in training. They've chosen dramatic careers, but they need the support and they need to be listened to and heard so that they feel comfortable in going forward with even things like in the changing room. So simple things. There's a mirror in the changing rooms so that they, not because we want to check everything, but just so that we feel at ease, so that they have clothes that fit, and they have safe car parking if they're going to the office. Things like that. Safe space is all part of allyship. I can see you nodding vigorously, Jessica. That's from the energy world.
Yeah,
I'll hand over to you.
absolutely. I think there's a lot of crossover, when we talk about women's empowerment in the arts. In a lot of what I do, it is empowering women to tell their stories. It's empowering girls to tell their stories. I have 3 points that I had made in my notes for this question. And I think that the first one is that we lead with curiosity and not correction. So if you're on the adult side of it, it's not here's how we did it. It's what do you see that we don't, right? What do you need, right? I think there's a lot of benefit to here's how we did it, and also what didn't work, as Allison said. And I share that with my students all the time. I have a couple of really key stories that I share about when I just absolutely failed horribly. And I tell them that because I'm like, great, let's not make those mistakes, right? And let's also realize that everybody makes mistakes, right? And that failure is not an end. I like to say it's the ultimate new beginning. It's saying, okay, great, that didn't work. Let's adjust and we'll try something else, right? So that's lead with curiosity. I think it's sharing the power and not just advice. And I love what you said, Allison, and I agree. Please reach out. I've had wonderful mentors in my life. I enjoy being a mentor. I'm at a high school today working with students. So offering platforms and introductions and decision-making roles rather than just guidance from the sidelines. But as Allison said, you got to let the horse go at some point. That we do everything we can as mentors to prepare. And then the only way that you're really going to lead is by leading. And the only way you're ever going to really advocate is by advocating. And then once that happens, I think it's openly celebrating it and celebrating the things that are going well. It's something that I ask my students because it was a question that I wasn't asked. The first time anybody ever asked me in a school setting, at least, what are you really good at? I was 22 years old and I was almost ready to graduate from college. And the director of my program sat our class down and said, okay, what are you really good at? And everybody kind of looked at each other like, is this a joke? Because you spend so much time being told what you need to work on. And it was like, oh, am I allowed to? Am I allowed to say what I'm good at? Am I bragging? Does that make me not look like a nice person? And I think that advocacy is fueled by visibility. And it's also confidence and knowing what you're good at and knowing that, yeah, it's okay to know where your strengths are and to play to them. It's okay to know, and I tell students, with acting, I have great timing. I always have had great timing. So what am I good at? I'm really good at comedy. I'm funny, right? And I think it's important for all young women to know, and these things will change and they will evolve, but what are you really good at? And that's okay. It's not bragging. It's confidence. I think every generation has wisdom, and that change is accelerated when we can work together. Young people often have a lot of urgency and they have a lot of imagination, and us older folks have a lot of access and a lot of experience. And when you can put those two things together, I think that's when the magic starts to really happen. And that is my answer.
Oh my God. Oh, I just feel like you both should just keep talking and talking and talking. Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you so much, Jessica. Alison spoke about learning, and oh no, you both spoke about learning from mistakes of you guys. And I always say that, it said experience is the best teacher, but experience is not the best teacher. If you have the experiences of others, you need to leverage on the experiences of others. And there are newer mistakes that need to be made. So we don't have to keep repeating mistakes that have been made. When we have good mentorship, we learn from the mistakes of others, and then you can make newer mistakes so that others will learn from those mistakes and avoid them. So thank you so much for sharing that. And another thing that stood out for me was Alison saying women trust women. It is very easy to say, but that serves as a foundation of any change that we want to make, even as it regards to women. Because if you don't have this, it is women that, even though we create these safe spaces, what even makes these spaces safe? these spaces are safe because we have people that these women, these girls trust. And these people are women and girls like us. So yeah, so that's it. And then what Jess said about leading with curiosity and not correction, that is also a big factor when it comes to creating safe spaces for youths to air their views and for change to take place. So thank you so much, Jess. Thank you so much, Alison, for those timely interventions. So we are going to be moving to our youths, Inyoluwa and Priyanka. What is one action? I know Jess said when she spoke first, she said, we want to hear from the youth. How do you think we can help? What are the things you want us to help us do? She spoke about mentorship and that and all of that. So now this question, I want you to be as practical as you can, as real as you can. What is one action you'd like to see youths and adults take together to advance human rights? So, Priyanka, let's have you, and then Inyoluwa will go after you.
Thank you very much, Samantha. I actually noted this one down. One action I would really love to see is collective action. I'm super inspired by the potential for youth and adults to create, a world that's balanced for human rights, where all individuals have human rights, equal human rights. And this can be fostered by making open dialogues and sharing understandings. I'm pretty sure we can build a stronger partnership and drive meaningful change. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for that. When you spoke about collective action and open dialogue, it just reminded me of our Glow clubs, because that is what our Glow clubs are all about. We have our mentors, we have us, we the girls, our Glow sisters, and we can freely speak to each other, we can freely speak to our mentors, and they support us 100/10. Yeah, so thank you so much for that. And I believe our adults, our experts have listened and they'll take note of that. So Inyoluwa, let's hear from you. What's one action you would like to see youth and adults take together to advance human rights?
Okay, for me, just showing up is already a big deal. But one thing that could really help is when adults share their platforms. Like when they are invited to speak, they bring in some youth speakers or youth to speak to them. And also, adults stop thinking you're too young to understand stuff. It might be small, but we have a lot of experience. So being an ally simply means listening, speaking, and supporting. Not speaking for us, but speaking to us.
Whenever I am in a room with my Glow sisters, I am always so glad, because I know that the conversations are going to be like big bombs. Thank you so much, Inyoluwa, for that. Involve us. So whatever it is you're doing, and the adults, ensure that you are involving us in the things that you are doing. There's a slang that is going on in Nigeria now. It's called involve me. And then people just laugh and make jokes around that. But I think it's very, very important. Thank you so much, Inyoluwa, for sharing that. So before we wrap up, I would love for everyone to finish this sentence. So here is a sentence. We're going to be filling in the gap. Okay, a world where youth and adults are true partakers in human rights looks like. So you're going to tell us what it looks like. So I'm going to take it again. A world where youth and adults are true partners in human rights looks like. So this is how it's going to be. Jess is going to go first. Priyanka is going to go second. Allison is going to go next, and then Inyolua is going to be the final person. So, are we ready? Drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls. Okay, I'm going to say it and then you're going to respond. So, just now, a world where youths and adults are true partners in human rights looks like.
It looks like a wider ladder. I think we talk about climbing the ladder a lot. And when there's only one person at the top of the ladder, it's not a ladder, it's a pedestal. So I think it is about creating a wider ladder so that we can all rise together.
Amazing. The wider ladder. I love that analogy. Thank you so much, Jess. So, Priyanka, a world where youths and adults are true partners in human rights looks like.
It looks like a world where human rights are respected and protected, and every individual has access to various opportunities to thrive.
I agree with you, Priyanka. Thank you so much for that. So now we move to Allison. Allison, a world where youths and adults are true partners in human rights looks like.
It looks like some kind of magical place where I want to live. And we can make it happen if we share and we listen and we support each other. And sharing and listening have been the golden threads that have run through this. So yeah, it's this magical, achievable place. Great question.
Amazing. I also want to live in that magical world. And we here are going to make that happen. We're going to create the magic. Thank you so much for sharing, Allison. And finally, Inyolua, a world where youth and adults are true partners in human rights looks like.
Well, it's clearly a world where young people are not just seen, but heard. When we sit at the table and we actually share our thoughts and decisions, it's a world where our age doesn't stop us from making a difference. It's clearly a world where we work together and we grow together.
Exactly, Inyolua. Oh, our age is not a limitation. Thank you so much for sharing. This discussion has been an amazing one that I, the moderator, would definitely love to listen and listen and listen again, because so much powerful things, so much gems shared and said here, and I need to listen and regurgitate and get all the value from it. So thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you so much to Jess for joining us. I know that it has been a busy day, but thank you so much for making that time. Thank you so much, Allison. You're having this conversation in your office. Thank you so much for the sacrifice, and to our amazing youths in your Lua. Thank you so much, Priyanka. Thank you so much. Let us leave this place with a great commitment to promote human rights, to support. We have not just said stories here. We have actually brought out actionable steps. So let's make sure that we follow through with that, and also share the news. Initiate conversations at home, in the classroom, just with your students, Allison with the other women, the 4,000 women in Women in LPG, in your Lua, in your classroom. Priyanka, I know you just finished exams. When school resumes or during break with your friends, initiate the conversations and let's keep the conversations going. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, Global Girls Blue, for putting this together. Thank you to everyone listening. And I'm going to see you. You're going to hear from me in our next roundtable discussion. Until then, have a good day and enjoy yourself. Thank you. Bye.